Welcome, everybody, to the second episode of All Between the Beards, the podcast where we keep it real about the funny situations between PC and console gaming. So, I am your host, Zach, aka That Toe Guy 1. I am joined here with Outlaw Gaming, my
Yo.
co-host, and we are joined with Aftermath for a special guest star appearance.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on.
Yeah, there is one important question I have to ask here real quick. Do you have a beard?
Me, I actually do, yes.
Ah,
Okay.
yes.
So it's between three beards.
Our last guest did not, so we had to take a point away.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so, well, at least we know that Aftermath has a beard. So,
Yeah.
that is great. So, now there's 3 beards in the room. Okay, so tonight's episode is PC versus console. And I know all 3 of us, we've already discussed a little bit that we are all mainly PC. I have 2. We've discussed that the last episode. So, these guys, I know they love to play their PCs as well. We all met through 5M, and we just all stayed friends. So, we're going to get into this. So, respective platforms. Outlaw, I would assume PC.
PC, I do own a PS4, but I've not touched it in a long time.
Aftermath, I'm going to assume the same with you.
Yeah, I have a Xbox S, and I've pretty much gone through all the Xboxes from the original each generation, but I've never. Well, I own a PS3, but that's the newest one I have.
Dude, you know the funny thing about that, and I know we're gonna kind of get a little bit out of here, but when growing up, my first ever device was a PlayStation, a PS1 to be exact, and I didn't get into Xbox until Xbox 360. I did have an Xbox original at one point in my life, but it didn't work. It actually came with a house that we moved into, and it was just left there. And it worked a little bit. I used to play the original Halo on it, but then it broke one day and I never played it, never touched it again. But I did have a PS2.
I'm going to make myself reveal how much older I am than you, but I'm going to say Atari 2600 was the first console I ever had.
Oh,
Yeah, me too, actually.
I feel young. God, I feel young.
Yeah, I mean, I used to play. Well, Atari 2600 was first for me, but then I also had a Commodore 64 that I played all the time.
See, I never even got into GameCube. All my friends would have one, and I would love the little baby discs that they had for GameCube, but I never actually owned one until about 2015. I bought one, and I was surprised that Target still had them in the store. And they still do to this day. They even have PS2s. I don't know why, and I don't know how, but they still cost an arm and a leg. So what we're gonna talk about tonight is there's gonna be a few things. My start with gaming in general was console. I started out. I didn't get a PC until about 3 years ago. So my journey of gaming has always been console. So I went from PS1 to PS2. I went from PS2 to a PS3. And this was 3 years after PS3 came out. And then my parents bought me another PS3, and then they bought me an Xbox 360 for the first time. And then I went from Xbox 360 to Xbox One, and then never really bought anything new until about 3 years ago, and I bought my first gaming PC and loved it ever since. So that's been my journey. Let's hear your guys's. Outlaw, what about you, man? What was your journey?
Like I said, as a kid, we had the Atari 2600. I had the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, Sega Genesis. I think when I went off to college, because I had my computer there, I got more into computer games. Actually somewhere in high school, because I was playing. I bought the original Grand Theft Auto on PC when it came out the day of, you know.
Right.
But I think at some point I did switch to console games because for doing games at one point they were just better than the PCs for a while. And I was on consoles for quite a while until I think probably just the last year or so when I started getting into 5M and stuff like that, and I came back to PC. Um, you know, and it also works because I need computers now for stuff that I work with and everything, so it's just more convenient for me.
All right. What about you, Aftermath? Where was your start?
Oh man, this is a long journey. So I started with the 2600 to the Atari, and then I got Commodore 64, and that kind of got me more into the keyboard. Kind of opened me up to PC gaming. But I had a Sega Genesis, I had this Sega CD, all that good stuff through the 90s, and then I I had Macintoshes for when I was in college, which was in the mid 90s, which ages me quite a bit. Um, and then I got a PC. My first PC I got in 2001, um, and it was a Compaq. That tells you how ancient
Was
that
that the
is.
one? Was that the one where you could take off and put different color faceplates on it?
I don't know. This one you couldn't. It was just the off-white, that
Oh,
they had
okay.
back then. Yeah. But I've always had PCs since then. I've always built my own PCs and just loved them. I actually didn't build the one I have now because it was actually cheaper and easier to just get one on Amazon. um, but
Pretty much for the win.
Xboxes here and there. I do have a Steam Deck that my wife mainly plays. But yeah, as far as like handhelds, I never really got into Game Boy or anything. And actually, the whole Nintendo thing, I kind of missed. I never had Super Nintendo or any of that. I did have a Wii, but that was for the kids. Uh, but
I had
yeah,
I had a Wii.
it's been PC. Yeah, it's been PC since then.
All right. See, I got my start with PC not only just because, 3 years ago, I started playing like heavy PC gaming with like 5M, but when I was growing up, my parents bought me just this cheap laptop, and I used to play World of Warcraft on it a lot, and that was my jam. Like, dude,
Yeah.
I love World of Warcraft. I'd play it today, but I don't feel like downloading it on my computer because the last time I downloaded it, I felt like I got a lot of lag on anything that I ever played. So, okay, so um, let's talk about. I know we've already talked about Outlaw's PC setup, but what do you have currently in your PC setup, Aftermath?
Um, oh man, specifics. Like I said, I bought this on Amazon. Let's see, I think it was a year and a half ago. I know that I just upgraded my RAM. I now have 64 RAM and I have a 3070 card. It's not that great as far as, like I said, it's like a year and a half old. Um,
That's
Trying to
actually a
think
good
what
card,
else.
though. A
Yeah, I mean it
3070.
is. Yeah, it is a good card. I always wanted to upgrade to the 40 series, but then a lot of people say it's not even worth it, so I've never really done it. It is an
I can
i9
vouch.
processor though. What's that?
I can vouch for that. It's not
Oh,
much
okay.
different. I had a 3050. My first gaming PC was actually a GTX 1650,
Hmm.
and oh my god, it barely played 5M. I was surprised because it had an Intel i3 as
Oh yeah.
well, and it barely played 5M. But then when I upgraded to another PC, I had a Intel i5 with a 3050 in it, and I seen a very big difference. And then when I got my current PC, I have a 4070 and Ryzen 7, and I can see even a big difference between those two. But a 3070 and like a 3060 are still really good cards. They haven't really like done too much more to them to make them a better card until they got to the 50 series. The 50 series, oh, I will never upgrade to one, especially because of the price tag. But
Yeah.
still, um, and I got mine. I have both my computers are both pre-built. My gaming PC is a pre-built iBuy Power with a
Yeah.
I upgraded the RAM. That's the only thing that I did on it. But it's got a Ryzen 7 7700 with a 4070 backing it. And then my streaming PC, Ryzen 7 4060 Ti with only 16 gigs of RAM. But still a good PC. I could still play every game that I play on my gaming PC. Now, I don't play any games on the streaming PC just because I don't want that, building up so much pressure on it when I need it for streaming or doing what we're doing now.
Yeah.
Okay, so for story-driven games, I'm gonna ask you guys this question. I will be the last one to answer it, but for story-driven games, couch or desk? Outlaw.
Well, the last story-driven game I played was Red Dead Redemption 2. And, I went back and played Red Dead Redemption 1. And I will actually say console's probably for the win for that, if that's what you're going to be doing primarily. I think that for gaming, they're purposely built and they're more reliable. They don't have a lot of the hiccups you have with your computers and stuff like that. I got back into PC a lot just because I wanted to go and do stuff like online in 5M where it requires you to do stuff like that. I mean, that's where the PCs excel. But like I said, if you're just looking for something you can get on good, reliable to play, console for story mode all day for me.
Well, you didn't answer the question. Couch or
I
desk?
Oh, I thought you were talking couch or
No.
desk.
Okay, so story-driven game, right? Would you rather be
Yeah,
sitting on your couch or would you rather be sitting at your desk?
the couch.
Okay, all right. There we go. Aftermath, how about
Why
you?
was I thinking we were comparing console and PC? I'm sorry.
No, 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 no. Nope. Just for a story-driven game, uh, would you rather sit on your couch or at your desk?
Yeah, I'd have to agree with couch because it's the same thing. I love all the Fallout games, and I've played all those on the couch. And I'll sit at my desk, and it's like I don't really get into it as much when there's a story. So yeah, definitely couch.
I would have to agree with couch as well, just based on the game, and I've been trying to remember what game it is. Um, for the life of me, me and my brother in law played it a ton when I was growing up, and I still can't remember the name of the game. I swear it starts with a B, but it's not Battlefield, but it's you're like hunting aliens. I don't know why I can't think of the name of it. I know it'll come to me at some point. I think they just released the third one of it, and when I was playing it, it was the second one. But I can't remember the name of the
Well,
game.
it wouldn't be Doom then.
No, it was. I guarantee you, if I pulled up the Xbox app right now, I guarantee you it'll be on like Game Pass or something, and I'm just sitting here drawing a blank on it the entire time. Okay, so I'll come back to that, and it'll probably end up just spitting out at some point that I know what game it is because I'm waiting for my Xbox app to launch so I can actually view it. Um, is 120 FPS actually noticeable? Do you guys, Outlaw, do you see anything difference between 120 FPS compared to, any other game that you play?
I'm going to say this comes down to the person watching it, to be completely honest, because it might be one of these things that I think some people are looking for it, because I'm running like 50 to 60, and everything looks fine to me on my end, but that's me. If you're running higher frames per second, I probably wouldn't notice unless you told me.
Yeah, I can see that. Aftermath, what about you?
Yeah, I'd agree. I mean, I think 60 is kind of the top for me where I would even notice any kind of difference. You get up to 120, it's like I don't see any difference.
Yeah, I can say the same. Because I play ATS a lot, and I think that game actually caps out at like 70 to 80 FPS, and my 5M only it caps out at like 130, maybe 160, and I don't really notice a difference between the two. Now, obviously, that is two very different games. One you're driving, and the other one you're role playing and doing different things in GTA. Um, but I think that would be something that is not noticeable.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that comes in the marketing too. When you like when they're advertising these things and they put like 50 or 60 next to 120 on screen side by side, you're like, oh, I can see it, you know. But
Yeah, yeah,
it's like I said, it's one of those things you got. It's got to be pointed out. I'm not speaking for everyone. I'm sure there's some people that can tell the difference by looking, but I can't.
yeah. I really
Yeah.
can't. I really can't tell the difference either. Um, what about console exclusives that like you can't play on PC? Do they still matter, Outlaw?
I don't honestly. There's not been like that many console exclusives that have really piqued my interest. I'm one of these people like I focus on like certain games and then they're kind of like my go-to and I might find something else here and there, but it's like there's never been too much issue. I think more what would pertain more to me is the fact that like a lot of games will come out on console first before PC. We know that's the case with like GTA. It's going to happen with GTA 6. So if I do get a newer console, it's going to be just because of that.
That's why I bought a new console. Well, actually, I bought it for MLB The Show, but because MLB The Show is console exclusive. Um, it's not on PC at all. I wish it was. Um, what about you, Aftermath?
Yeah, I agree. I'm kind of the same, and a lot of times I'll be fine waiting if I know it's going to come to PC later. I feel like I have enough games where I can just wait. But the mention of GTA 6, that's the one that I think whatever that's on first, if it's like a PlayStation 6 or whatever they have by then, I will be ready to get that, to throw down on that because. I want to play that when it comes out. So that's it's the same thing where it's just title based. It depends on what title's coming out. And GTA 6 is the one that I think will make me buy the newest, whatever the newest. I do have an Xbox S, so it might be fine. But I don't think I can wait for PC on that one.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll probably end up going on Facebook Marketplace and finding a used PS5 to run it. And that's what
Yeah.
I'll do.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And that's what I did. I traded my gaming laptop for a Xbox Series X. It's just the digital version, but hey, you know what? It's still an Xbox. And my laptop was
And I
getting
think
no use.
from our point of view, like doing 5M streaming, in the GTA world,
Hmm.
it's going to be something if we're going to stay relevant that we're going to have to make that jump to.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, what about crossplay? Crossplay culture. A lot of new games are coming out crossplay between PC, Xbox, and even Nintendo Switch. MLB The Show released on, I believe it was 23. They released it finally on Xbox. And it was the first year that Xbox actually got an MLB The Show game. And they also released it on Nintendo on Switch. What do you guys think about the crossplay culture with other people that are come in playing, between a PC to an Xbox or a PS5 or PlayStation?
There needs to be more of it. Quite honestly, and that's one of the things, I've mentioned that I like to play SnowRunner. And that's been great because my son plays SnowRunner. Am I still here? Okay, sorry, I was having some issues here.
Yep, nope, you're
Yep.
still good.
But yeah, I like SnowRunner. My son plays it, and he's on PlayStation. And then he's got friends on Xbox that play it. So it's like we can all get on there and play at the same time. My son's joined me on some streams on there. You know, I just think there needs to be more of it with these games. I don't really see a reason why it's not more prevalent now.
Yeah, and see, I can follow along with that because there is a lot of games that people don't get to do, um, and stuff like that are only on the PC or console versions of things.
The only complication I see to that is like when you're running things where you're doing mods on like PC and stuff, you won't be able to follow that with consoles.
See, that's like Farm Sim, right? Farm Sim they have there's only so many there's so many mods that you can actually do between a PC and a console. They have limitations, and that's a console for you. They do have limitations on what mods you can do and what things you can do on it. And Aftermath,
But that
you could chime in too if you want.
yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree. I mean, I feel like I keep agreeing, but it's all great points. I do wish that they had more of it. I mean, the only time I've really done crossplay was Minecraft with my kids, or PC, and I mean everything. Minecraft's on everything, and I always thought that was a great idea, and I didn't understand why you wouldn't want to do that. But like you said, the mods, I know, Microsoft and Sony didn't play well together for a while, but now, it seems like everyone is doing fine with that, and it seems like it can only benefit gamers.
It really could. Crossplay could benefit multiple different gamers. Like Call of Duty's been doing it for a while of crossplay.
Yeah.
They've been doing it because you can crossplay PC, Xbox, whatever you want to do, all online, and it benefits gamers in that aspects for Call of Duty. But for like SnowRunner and stuff, they didn't do it on MudRunner. I don't think, at least. I only played MudRunner a little bit. I also want to chime in here, if you guys remember a little bit ago when I was talking about that game that I used to play. It was called Borderlands. I don't know if you guys ever played that
okay,
game.
yeah.
But I played Borderlands 2, and I loved that game. It was like to die for. Now, I don't think that one is probably crossplay, but
I'm gonna take a tangent comment here, but Borderlands is the all-time greatest character introduction where he yells out, "I'm the conductor of the poop train." That's always going to be my favorite.
See, and that's why when I started trying to remember, I knew it started with a B, but I just could not remember if it was Badlands or what it was. But
Yeah.
that is exactly what it was, Borderlands, and I loved that game. I have not played it since when me and my brother-in-law used to play it, and I wish I would have got back into it because it was actually a really fun game. Okay, so crossplay should be a thing with most games. I know there are some games that you just cannot do from PC to Xbox or PlayStation as well, but crossplay should be a thing with more games. I'm
Yep.
pretty sure we got that out there.
Yep.
Aftermath brought up Minecraft. You can even cross-play onto Android with that now.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I know. You used to be able to crossplay iPods and stuff like that back in like 2011. I have not played Minecraft in a long time though. I used to download when I downloaded Minecraft the first time. I actually downloaded like a modded version or whatever, the ones that you could just download offline, and that's what I did. And I still actually have the laptop that it was my mom bought me my first ever laptop, and I still have it to this day. It's all broke, like it still works, but the actual screen is broken, like the joint or whatever, and so it like kind of just hangs on by a wire, but it still works to this day. I still have everything on it. Still have Minecraft. Still have all the different odds and ends. Still have Euro Truck Simulator on there as well because I bought it trying to play it on there and it never worked because I did not have what I have today. I have a video somewhere that I was recording on that laptop that I was driving Euro Truck Simulator and I was driving mouse and keyboard, and I wasn't using like an actual external mouse. I was using the pad, and I rolled the truck going like 190 or 120 and just left it on its side and then ended the video because I was like, yep, I can't do this. I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So, okay. We're going to take this to the next task here. So, which would you play more? And this is going to be the handhelds versus a console versus a PC. So, Steam Deck, PS Portal, handheld hybrids, which rely into the Asus ROG Ally, or a Steam Deck, or Xbox, or a PlayStation, or just going to plain old PC? What would you guys play more?
Um, right now, I'm it's PC because, like I said, I if I'm doing something, I'm streaming right now. But I don't rule out the other things. I don't really have a handheld. I do, however, have a backbone for my phone. I don't know if you're familiar with that product,
I have seen that.
but you know, you can remote play to a console and everything on that, which is great for traveling. I haven't used that in a while either, though. I might start taking that with me when I travel just to play some games. And I don't even know if that works with PC or not, but it'd be cool if it did.
You should invest in the Asus ROG uh, Ally or whatever it is. You should invest in one of those. You could play 5M on that.
Well, you know
Um,
what? Send me a link to it after the show.
okay, I got you. What about you, Aftermath? What would you play more?
Well, for me, it's just always PC. I mean, I work at my PC all day, and for me, it's just the performance and the fact that you can have several big monitors, and like all this stuff is it's my favorite part of it. But that said, I do have a Steam Deck, and I love it. It actually surprised me how well it works. It just grabs your Steam library, and you can. Most of the games are okay to play on there, and they'll even say, that there are games that are excellent to play, where all the controls work, and then there are some that kind of work with the Steam Deck where maybe you have to pull up. There's like a virtual keyboard on the screen. You have to pull up and type some stuff, but most games work. And the more actiony games, of course, more arcade type games work perfectly. And you can just sit there on your couch and grab a Steam Deck and just play whatever. Like SnowRunner is a great example. And you can just play it right there, and you don't have to worry about firing up the PC if you don't have it on, or So for me, it's kind of like how I feel at that time. You know what I mean? Like if I'm at work, if I'm working on the computer already, I want to jump on a game, I can do that. But if I'm on the couch, just grab that Steam Deck and just play something. It's great.
I could actually agree with that. Like I've always thought about getting one of the Asuses, just so I could, if I was ever on the go, I could I could hop on 5M. I could hop
Yeah.
on, different games. Because with the Asuses, you can hook up a keyboard, a mouse, and a monitor to them, and you can play those. And play those things, but they don't play as good as a normal PC. Now,
Yeah.
if I'm just sitting around on my couch, oh, dude, I used to love to hook up my controller to my phone, and I don't know if you guys have ever done Xbox cloud gaming, but I used to hook up to
Hmm.
my phone with the controller and play MLB The Show on my phone when I was downstairs if my Xbox wasn't near me. And if I was downstairs sitting in my chair, my wife would be watching TV. I could just be sitting there playing MLB The Show. Now it's a very small screen, but it still worked out really well. I still, could play. I tried SnowRunner on that before too, but it did not work out the greatest. But still, it's still something that you can do differently with your phone or with a handheld device that you can't do if your console's up in your office or at your desk or in your bedroom or whatever, and you're just sitting in your living room and your wife's watching TV. You know, you have that freedom to do that.
Yeah. Another thing too that I like a lot, and it's kind of in between PC and console, is the Luna, which is Amazon's like Fire. It's on the Fire Stick. So we have a Fire Stick in the living room, and you can use your phone as a controller. So you have the app, and and it has where you put your fingers and you press the buttons like on your phone, and you can play games, Luna games, which are their own certain games that they have allowed on there, and you can just play it on your screen through the Amazon Fire Stick, which is, I don't know, I kind of like that. It's kind of like a console.
That's kind of like what Netflix did,
Yeah,
adding games to
yeah,
Netflix, and they actually added GTA on there, which was really weird for a while.
yeah,
I haven't been on Netflix in a long time though, so I wouldn't know if they still have it on there. But at the same point, it was still something that you could do with on your Netflix.
Yeah.
Um,
I want to say I think that there's a lot of opportunity lost for portable gaming on mobile phones. I know it's kind of out of the subject here. It's kind of connected to if we talk about the different platforms. I think there's a few good mobile games, but the most of it's just crap. And I think that could be a potential good platform.
See, in mobile
But
games on like your phone, they I play a few games on my phone, not like anything that we'd be playing on a PC or something, but I've played a few mobile games and all it is just filled with ads now. Like every game,
it,
and I don't know if you guys ever remember the iPod Touch. You download a game and you'd never see an ad
Yeah.
ever. And so when I would be in like high school and stuff, I'd have an iPod Touch, and that's what I'd bring to school with me to listen to music, and I'd play games on it. I used to have a Mud Runner on iPod, and I can still download it on my phone today. And same thing with like Farming Simulator. Yeah, but they they did something with apps, and now they just want to get money out of them, and that's what the ads are all about. Is that's how people are making money now, and it's a little messed up if you ask me.
Yeah.
well, and the thing is, they are capable of playing decent games. I mean, not like I said, not like PC or console, but you can play any of the original GTA trilogy 3D, like the Vice City, San Andreas, on a mobile phone. You can play Minecraft on there. But like you're most anything you see, it's the free to download, pay to win. And honestly, if there were more games where I could go out and spend $20, $30, have a decent game that I can play on my phone, I would pay it.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
that's the same thing with like a handheld gaming device, you know. Um, Especially because when you're playing a mobile game, you want to be able to be free, and like if you're on a road trip, right, and you're trying to play a game on your phone and it's just ad after ad after ad, it gets boring. So then you go do something else, and there's not really a market that people have like touched into of trying to make their games mobile friendly. If like I'm not saying 5M, but like more of like the Call of Duty style. And I know they just came out. Well, it was like a year ago, but they came out with Call of Duty Mobile. They had the original Call of Duty game that you could download, but then they came out with Call of Duty Mobile to where you can play like Warzone and stuff like that on your phone. And they did a really good job of doing that, but they missed some key points with Call of Duty Mobile, and I think they need to revamp or something with that. But I I don't know. There's a market there that people could start getting into gaming on their phone, but then at the same point, you're spending a lot of time on a screen, and some people are like, no, stay off of screens. It's gonna hurt your eyes, but that's what they make blue light glasses for. That's what I wear. Okay,
Yeah.
so what about RGB overkill, guys? What do you think about that?
It's one of these things. It's a marketing thing. People like flashy light stuff, and it sells. It is what it is. And like I know a lot of people don't really care, but there's a lot of people that look at it, and it's a lot of people go out and buy almost anything based on how it looks.
Yeah.
You know, and like, and I'm not gonna exclude myself from that. I mean, I've showed you my car. I bought it because it looks cool. But
Yeah.
like like most people in anything, you have your people that are seriously into it, but most people in anything are just casual. You know,
Right. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and
I have a lot of RGB in my office. To be honest with you, both my computers are RGB. I have RGB lighting all around my desk. But even my ring light will flash RGB. So I can't say that I'm not one to overkill on RGB, but also at the same point, it's really flashy, and I'm not a flashy person. I wear $15 shoes from Walmart, so I'm not gonna go out and buy or pay $300 for a pair of shoes. I will buy the $15 pair of shoes,
Yeah.
wear them until there's a hole in the bottom of them, and then buy a new pair for $15. So, and then I buy.
I ain't gonna knock it. My computer has them, and I didn't really buy it for that because you were there when I was looking for a computer. I was just looking for something to get me up and going. You remember that whole thing, but like,
Yep.
the computer I have has it, and it's like I'm not gonna knock anybody that likes it. If it works for them, good.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I
Here,
feel like if you want to bling out your computer, like who'd have thought, 10, 15 years ago that we'd be doing this, like having RGB everything. Like we have a headset on one of the computers that even when you turn the computer off, the headset still has the RGB lights on it. It's so annoying. So we unplug it. But I feel like if you want to do that, if you want to go crazy and have them flashing, and I love the customization of it and all that, where you can just go really nuts on it. I actually bought new fans. I have an iBuyPower tower also, and the front three fans, two of them went out a couple months ago, and I was just going to buy new ones, and I said I'm not going to worry about RGB or anything. I'm just going to get regular ones. Well, the RGB ones are actually cheaper because that's like the normal now. And so I just went ahead and bought new RGB fans. So
Yeah. Yeah.
but
yeah,
that's cheaper because it's just a volume thing,
yeah,
because when you're
exactly.
making a lot more of them, it's like anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like trying to buy a car that doesn't have power steering now. It's like impossible.
Yeah. That's true.
But you know
Okay.
what? If you don't want power steering, you can be like me and go buy an old Focus and just let it die.
Yeah,
But no, I mean RGB. It's not even just computers; it's cars. It's in everything now. Like
yeah,
literally, like cars have RGB systems in them.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
You got a point there. All right. So let's talk about budget PC parts versus new gen consoles. I'm gonna go a little bit off topic on this because you're not really gonna build a PC for $100, and a $500 gaming console is actually more realistic. But $1,000 PC build with budget PC parts, or just a $500, or actually no, what I should say is $1,000 pre-built PC, which one of them that I have here is $1,000, and then a you build your own PC for probably $1,500 to $2,000 with really good parts, or just a $500 console. What is actually better between them?
Um, this is going to be another thing, and it's going to depend on the user. Like, to be completely fair, most people don't even. It's turning to the point now where people aren't even having computers anywhere because everybody's got their phone, maybe a tablet. People don't have PCs. Now, like my situation, it makes sense because, on the side, I do things. I do like my laser engraving, I do my 3D printing, and I have the programs I use for it. So it makes sense for me to have a PC, not to mention the type of gaming I do requires PC. You can't run 5M on a console.
Yeah, yeah,
Um, but to be completely honest, going back to like people don't have much use for computers anymore. I think if you're going to be like, you know, just going out to play games and play like their standard online versions of it, if you're not doing anything special with the PC, I say you're probably best off just forking out the money for the console. In the long run, it'll be cheaper for you. If you're not doing any mods to any games, like I said, it's going to be more reliable. If you have an issue on a console, usually you shut it off, turn it back on, it's good. PCs, we all know how something goes on, and all of a sudden you're trying to debug stuff, figure out what's wrong with it, pulling your hair out.
yeah,
You know, the money you put into it is going to be more than a console.
yeah. That
So,
is very true.
I feel
like I
though,
said, you got to look at your own purposes.
yeah,
Yeah,
I feel there was a time there, the red ring of death on the Xboxes, and it was just bricking these things. They're just and sure you can upgrade them, you can get, you can upgrade here and there, but you can't fix it and upgrade it like you can a PC. And I feel like a lot of times, when your console dies and you're sending it in for, maybe it doesn't have a warranty anymore or anything. I think it's just a brick. And by that time, they usually have an upgraded version anyway that you have to buy for another, $700. So I don't know. I think it's kind of a draw as far as spending money because I feel like PCs. Um, I feel like you can just do more with the PC. You can get more out of it. You know what I mean? And if you're going to spend $700 on a console to just game, it seems like you should just go ahead and spend, $1,000, $1,200, whatever, for a PC to do a lot more. That's my opinion.
Yeah, yeah. See, and like you just said, the Red Ring of Death.
Yeah.
Bringing that up, I had an Xbox 360, and they said they fixed the Red Ring of Death on this version of console. It was the Xbox 360. It was the white one, and then they came out with the black one
Hmm.
at some point, and they said they fixed it. Well, I had the Red Ring of Death on the black one at one point, but what ended up fixing that one was just getting a new power cable. But then the white one that I had, it had the Red Ring of Death. I swapped out the power cable too, and it fixed it. Never had it again. But it always had something to do with the fans, and they could never really master the Xbox 360 until they got to the Xbox 360 Slim or whatever it was, the next one. And they never really mastered the Xbox 360. They really pushed out the Xbox One pretty quick, if you ask me, and that was kind of like PlayStation 2. But back then it was like they had to do new consoles every year, every time, every chance, and then for a while they didn't come out with a new Xbox until a couple years ago. And I believe it was like right before COVID that the Series X and stuff started coming out.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm wrong on that. Listeners, you guys can definitely roast us in the comments for some of our things that we don't know. Let us know what you guys have to say about any of this stuff, so we can better it and we can make this into something good. But if it was me, I would definitely invest the money into a PC. Now there is games that like you can play on Xbox and PlayStation that are separated, but you could do that on a PC. Most games are on PC that are on PlayStation. Most games, I think there's only one game that I know of that is only strictly on or PlayStation, and it's God of War. And I don't think you can get that on PC. Now don't quote me on that, guys, because I don't know.
Hmm.
I've never actually looked it up. I used to have my last PS3 that I ever bought was the red one with the top slide tray, and it was the God of War edition. And I loved that PlayStation, but I also loved my Xbox more at the time, and I would play it more than my PlayStation. Um, so if it was me, I would go with the PC because I would say with the setup that I have right now, I don't need to upgrade anything probably for another 5 years, because normally PC stuff is good for about 5 to 10 years. You know, your RAM you can upgrade that at pretty much any time. Your GPU, if you really wanted to, you can upgrade that. Your motherboard, your CPU, you could pretty much take your whole case apart and put all new components in it, and you don't have to go spend another $1,000 on a new PC in 5 years. You
Yeah.
can you can spend that money over time of upgrading different things until you get to the newest and greatest components of a PC. Like I'm not gonna go upgrade from my 4070 to a 50 card because I don't need it. I really don't. Um, CPU, maybe, maybe I'll upgrade my CPU at some point, but not right off the bat. I don't need it. Um, but I would definitely say go with a PC, 100% of the time. Don't go to an Xbox or a console that you're in 3 years it's going to be obsolete. Like my kids, I just upgraded them like 2 months ago to the Xbox Series S, and they've been on an Xbox One the entire time. But we noticed that the games that they play were taking a lot longer to do any updates on the Xbox Ones. And when we upgraded them to the Series S, my son plays Fortnite a lot, right? We had him on his Xbox One, and it said that it was going to take 8 hours to update. Well,
Oh shit.
we went that same day and bought two brand new Xbox Series S's because both my kids have their own Xboxes. Well, we went and bought two brand new ones and brought them home. Fortnite was downloaded within 20 minutes of setting it
Yeah.
up. And so it's like the downloads are a lot faster on the new gen consoles. Now downloads on a PC are a lot faster because they can actually pull more bandwidth. They can pull more of your speeds from your internet. At Xbox, I can hook up the Xbox and do a speed test on it. I have 1 gig fiber, and that's 1 gig up, 1 gig down. I can do a speed test on the Xbox. And I'm only pulling like 300, and I'm sitting right next to the router. And but on my PC, I can pull 1 gig. So updates are a lot faster in that aspect. So we're actually going to move on to that. So update roulette. How long, and maybe none of us know this actually because we don't really play console, but if you take one game that is on console and PC, which one do you think is going to update faster, PC or Xbox or PlayStation?
PC. I don't know about Xbox, but I have the PlayStations, and it always seems to take forever to download on the PlayStation what I could have on the PC a lot quicker.
I can agree with that. What about you, Aftermath?
Yeah, I'd agree. I think though that it's kind of apples and oranges with me because my Xbox I have on wireless, and so that's of course going to be slower, and then I have the PC hardlined in. Um, so yeah, I think it's kind of I don't know, but another big thing I think about that is you have to upgrade or you have to update a lot more stuff with the PC. You have your all your different drivers, plus the games themselves, plus the software. You know what I mean? So, and I think that a console is more streamlined, where you don't have to worry about a lot of that stuff. But that's not really even that big of a deal to me. It's not really that bad.
Yeah, yeah. I can definitely agree with that. Especially because PC, I know, like, yeah, we have all of our drivers, we have our GPU, our CPU, our, just updating the OS in general.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's, that does take a lot longer. And Xbox, I shit you not, when I got my Xbox, I had to update the OS on it, and it's sitting right next to my Wi-Fi router too. It was in my office, right next to it, and even on Wi-Fi on my streaming PC, I can pull, 900 megabits per second. My Xbox took so long, and then when I downloaded MLB The Show, I had to leave my Xbox on all night just to let the game download because it took so long. But there's a lot that can be brought into difference between the two. So, you know.
Yeah.
Okay, so we did that. So, ow, I'm just knocking things over here. I think that's where we're gonna wrap it up tonight, guys. I really think we got a lot of the discussion in on everything. And listeners, if you guys do have any topics that you want us to bring up in 1 week's episode or something like that, you can definitely hit us in the comments on YouTube. You can also, I'm going to start adding a Discord link to our section, so you guys can join us on Discord and give us your ideas there. And you can also just message us if you do join the Discord. You'd be able to talk back and forth with us on different ideas and stuff like that. And we'll definitely have Aftermath here again. He definitely was a pleasant guest to have on the show.
Nice.
And a little bit better than last week, but I love Alpha. He's awesome. He's a funny dude. But
Well,
yes.
last week we were also getting our bearings a lot more than we are today.
Yeah, I'm definitely a little bit more prepared for this than I was last week. So, but yeah, if you guys want to, you definitely leave a comment. Definitely follow the podcast here. We're on every platform that you can think of for a podcast, wherever you get it. Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, YouTube. On my YouTube channel, I'm going to show Outlaw how to upload it on his too, so then he can kind of get some of that as well. And but yeah, thank you guys for joining in and listening to us ramble about PCs versus consoles. If you guys have any suggestions or have any comments on both, let us know. so we can kind of get our bearings with more of the PC versus console things and the topics as well. And thank you for listening to All Between the Beards. And what were you gonna say, Outlaw?
Yeah. Before we go, I just wanted to tell everybody to go out, check out Aftermath's YouTube channel. We'll make sure to get it in the links here in this video. He does a lot with OCRP and Fake World. He even has a recent video where he accidentally shot his wife. So
Yeah, yeah.
go check it
Accidentally in
out.
quotes.
I watched that one last night. Oh my god, fucking dying, dude. And then with our next episode, we are gonna plan on trying to have Aftermath back. We did, like I said, I did enjoy having him here. So you guys definitely check us out, have fun, get to know us, and
One last quick shameless plug for me. I'm at a big car show in St. Ignace this weekend. So I will be uploading some material onto my YouTube. Check it out if you can.
yep, all of our links will be listed in the description, and we will see you guys next week. Thank you guys for joining All Between the Beards.
Bye, everyone.